Hi, everybody. Hello, Teacher Lucas here. And we are starting the reviews, right? And welcome back to the review for the advanced one levels, right? For the midterm test. And we're going to make a wrap up from unit 1, 2, and 3, right? Check everything that we have studied so far. And join me, get your book, get your notebook, take notes, right? And here we're going to check all the grammar and the things that we've studied so far. For you guys, be very, very prepared for your first test of the semester, okay? So let's go, starting with Unit 1, right? Family Matters. Here are the topics that we've studied. We've learned expressions to express opinions. We discussed families, words related to family, present simple and the present progressive, verbal combination with up and down, right? But here, guys, we're going just to focus on the grammar thing, okay? Because words, expression, vocabulary, these things, you guys check your books, right? Go through the pages to remember them, right? The vocabulary, the expressions. Here, you're going to focus just on the grammar, okay? So the unit 1, we have seen the present simple and the present progressive, right? So let's just get a bigger review here from those two, right? So the present simple, we use to describe someone's personality, describe habits, say what is generally accepted as true, say what is true at the present, like at the moment. And the present progressive, we use to describe activities in progress, describe temporary situations, and talk about things happening at the moment of speaking, okay? So simple present and the present progressive or present continuous, right? If you prefer. So just remember to use the present progressive, we have to use verb to be plus a verb in ing form, okay? So I am, you are, he is, she is, we are, it is, they are, plus a verb in the ing. For example, I am working, she is eating, they are running, right? And the simple present, it's simple, right? Here I have some sentences from each of this part, okay? So like to take a look, like the present simple we have, she is a superstar, the most talented person in the world, like she is a superstar, a superstar. So this one we're talking about someone's personality, or she is a superstar. Then, I work every day from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., right? So I work every day. Take a look. The verb work is in the present every day. So it's a habit, right? So I work every day. Next, the world is bigger than the moon, right? The world is bigger than the moon. This one is I've chosen this situation just to show something that is generally accepted as true. It's just a simple sentence, right? So we know that the world is bigger than the moon, right? And I have 3 dogs at my grandfather's farm, right? When I say this, because it's what it's true now at the moment, at the present that I'm talking. This is true. I have 3 dogs at my grandfather's farm. Okay? So these are expressions just to you guys see how it's the present simple, right? And going to the present progressive, we have here, remember, verb to be plus a verb in the ing form, okay? For example, is she reading the forbidden book? Right? Like, is she reading? So it's a question. Remember, when we use verb to be in questions, we must put them in the beginning of the sentence, right? So is she reading the forbidden book? Right? So reading with the ing, right? Next, you're writing a book, aren't you? Like are, but it's contracted with you. You are, your. writing a book. So pay attention. The red ones are the verb to be, and the purple ones are the verb in the ing form. And the last one, can you please be quiet? I'm speaking. Can't you see? Right? So this is I'm talking at the moment. I am speaking. Right? So these are some examples for you guys see that it's the verb to be plus the ing to do the present progressive thing. Okay? Also, when we talk about the simple present, we have a third person rule, right? When we talk about he, she, it, okay? So remember, we must change the verb when we talk about those people, right? So here are the rules for guys remember, okay? So first, we have to add the s in all the verbs, right? For example, I like, he likes. You like, she likes. They like, the dog likes, right? So every time when we are referring to he, she, it, we have to add the s in the verbs, right? Here, for example, another example, we have I work, she works. You work, my father works, okay? Because we are affirming. Second, right? The second rule, right? The first one is the general rule. And the second, if your verb ends in the following combinations as the es instead of s, just s, right? So here, remember, we have to add s in all the verbs, but if your verb ends in the following combinations, add the es, like here. If your verb ends in O, like in go, you must put goes. If your verb ends in S, you have to put, like in kiss, we should change it to kisses. SH, like wash, washes. CH, like watch, watches. X, as in fix, fixes. Z, z sound like in buzz, buzzes, right? So for example here, I go, he goes. I kiss, she kisses. I wash, he washes. I watch, she watches. They fix, she fixes. We buzz, they buzzes, right? It's very important, don't forget. So we have to add the es. And in the third rule, if your verb ends in y but preceded by a consonant, right? We have to cut y and add the ies instead. So take a look in this one. A lot of people get a little confused here, but like in cry, right? Cry, it ends in y, right? Let me pick the pen here. So if you see, it ends in y, right? And the oh gosh, the previous letter, it's a consonant, like it's an R, right? So in this case, you have to cut Y and add the IES instead, okay? So cry, cries, dry, dries, try, tries. Pay attention because the previous word must be a consonant, right? For example, have the verb play, right? But play, it ends in Y, right? But the previous word, it's not a consonant, it's a vowel, it's A. So we're not going to cut Y and add IES. We're just going to put the S. Play, plays. Okay? And the next part is the auxiliary verbs, right? So when we ask questions. So if we're going to ask questions for those people like I, you, we, you, they, we have to use do. Do I like you? Do you go with me? Do we live near the supermarket? Do they play basketball? Right? It's that simple questions in the present, simple present using do. But if you are referring to he, she, it, we have to change to this. like, does she play soccer? Does he like to study? Does your dog sleep all the day? Right? That's it. And remembering a little rule for does. If you're making question with does, you don't need to change your verb. The same thing, the negative. Because if in the question, right, the interrogative form, we have does. In the negative form, we have doesn't. And so it's already saying the sentence that it's for he, she, it. So we don't need to add the verb, the s in the verb, okay? And verb to be, just to remember again, you have to use the correspondent one, like am, are, is. I am, you are, he is. But if it's a question, remember, put it before. Am I, are you, is he, is she, are they, are we, okay? And, oh, okay. Now, I have here like a quiz for you guys. So take your pen, take some paper, right? And you guys have some sentences and you have some verb here below all the sentences. And you guys have to organize these verbs in the correct sentence, okay? So I will ask you to pause the video in a moment for you guys take your time to do it, okay? So remember here we have the verbs in the base form, like have, ask, go, believe, play, complain, and work 2 times, right? And to complete here the sentence, you guys have to make the correct modifications, right? Have to put in the present progressive, verb to be plus ing, you have to put in the negative if it's necessary, change for the third person if it's necessary, he should eat, okay? So make the necessary modification and complete here. I'm going to give you a moment, then you guys pause. And when I count to 3, I'm going to skip to the next page, okay? So be sure for you guys do first before continuing the video, okay? So I'm skipping to the next page in 3, 2, 1. That's the answers, okay? So Tom is working at the moment. Can I take a message? I often play tennis on Saturdays. We are working on the Smith account this week. We rarely go out for dinner, but this week we go out on Saturday. He believes every word she says. Angela gets up at 7 o'clock and has breakfast every day. Peter usually asks a lot of questions. She's always complaining about how much she hates her job. Okay, so with this, all this information, we finished the Unit 1 review, and let's go to Unit 2. Remember, expressions and vocabulary that we've learned, check as well in your books, okay? Go through them to remember everything, okay? In Unit 2, we have eating healthy or eating crazy, right? So we've studied about express agreement and disagreement, discussing eating habits, right? Words related to diets, and rather, it's our grammar from the unit, and content words and suffixes, okay? So you guys remember rather, right? We have 3 ways of using rather, okay? It's a keyword that we can use for very different things and expand your vocabulary, right? So we can use rather as very, would rather as prefer, and rather than as instead of, okay? So rather, but remember, if you use from these things here, like in very, prefer, instead of, you have to use the correct combination, right? So just rather, would rather, or rather than, okay? So starting with just rather as very, it's a simple, just change rather to very or vice versa. If you think if it fits, you can use, right? Like she's very pretty, she is rather pretty, right? She's very pretty. She's rather pretty. So here you're intensifying your adjective that it's pretty. Okay. Next one. That movie was rather good, right? That movie was very good. And in the last option here, oh my God, that giraffe is rather big, right? That giraffe is rather big. It's very big. Okay, so for guys, don't keep like repeating very a lot. You can use rather. Okay, you can use rather than very. And here we have rather as prefer. But in this case, remember, we have to use would rather, okay? So I would rather go home. I think I'd rather not drink tonight. Would you rather eat at Bob's or at Max? Right? So here we have this prefer, you're giving your preference, like I would rather go home. I prefer go home, right? I think I'd rather not drink tonight. I think I'd rather not drink tonight. I think I prefer not to drink tonight, right? And would you rather eat at Bob's or at Max? Would you prefer eat at Bob's or at Max? Okay, so you're talking about preferences here. And the last one, it's rather as instead of, right? In this case, you were comparing things, kind of comparing things and expressing your opinion about it, okay? For example, I eat fruits and vegetables rather than fast food, right? So I eat fruits and vegetables instead of fast food, okay? So you guys have to just keep in mind because you have to make this choice between options, right? Like in the second one as well. I read books rather than watch movies, right? So I read books instead of watch movies. And the last one, rather than go straight on the to university, we went to a restaurant first. So instead of going, in this case, because of the preposition, instead of going straight on to the university, we went to a restaurant first. Okay? So in this case, we're just expressing your differences here in the sentences and which one you prefer the most, but you were comparing, kind of comparing them. Okay? And basically, unit 2 is the rather thing, right? Again, remember, check the vocabulary, the expressions that we've learned at the unit, okay? Everything counts. And from unit 3, living in the city, right? Express cause and consequence. We talk about these expressions. We discuss a lot about cities and towns, places in the city, making comparisons, right? And also verbal combination with in and out, right? So let's go to the important part, right? Making comparisons, right? So when we make comparisons, we usually use like more than, or than, less than, not as, and as. So here, I left this part here in blank for we create some comparisons together, okay? So for example, using more or than, right? We can put like living in a house is more comfortable than living in an apartment, for example. Okay, so in this case, I'm telling you that one is better than the other. Okay, and using it's when we have short adjectives, right? Like just one syllable. Okay, remember that when we have, for example, like small, hot, hard, small, tall, big, right? We have short adjectives. So in this case, we don't use more, okay? We add in the end of each verb, like small, smaller, hard, harder, tall, taller. Doesn't exist more tall or more taller, right? It's just taller than. Okay, so keep this in mind. Okay, for example, like this. I think that living in an apartment is cooler than living in a house, right? In this case, we have the adjective cool, right? So cool, just one syllable, so we have to use er at the end, like cooler, okay? So both of these two here are telling that one is better than the other. Here we have the positive. One is worse than the other. Okay, so we're going to use less than. Okay, for example, McDonald's is less good than Burger King, for example, right? In this case, one is less than the other, right? So McDonald's is, right, guys? Sorry, I put ear, but it is less good than Burger King. Different from more than or than. Less, you can use like all the verbs. Oh, sorry, all the adjectives, okay? Let the big ones, like more comfortable, less comfortable, or like the adjective cool that I use in like cooler, right? So less cool, use the adjective normally, okay? Not as, same thing, one is inferior than the other, right? Paris is not as beautiful as London. Paris is not as beautiful as London, right? And we have as. Sorry, we have as that it's an equal comparison, right? Both of things that I'm comparing have the same level of the adjective that I'm using, right? For example, I think the cats are as funny as dogs. I think cats are as funny as dogs, right? So no one here is better than the other, right? They are in the same level of being funny, okay? Let me clear, right? And to make a comparison more precise, right? To make it precisely and give more information, give more detail about, we have some keywords that we can use with them, right? With the comparatives to give this extra information about it, what you are comparing, right? For example, here we have words that just give a small difference and words that give a big difference, okay? Like inside the words that we have to small difference, like almost, pretty much, not exactly, slightly, a bit, and not much, right? So if you say one of these words before a comparison, like it's just a small difference, okay? And different, on the other side, we have a big difference, right? Words that if you use before the comparative, you were given like, oh, it's not that difference, right? It's a little more, right? Like not quite, much, not nearly, far, way, significantly, and a lot, okay? Pay attention on the colors, right? The words that are in red, they represent small difference, and the words that are in blue represents big difference, okay? And we have here which words we can use with the comparatives, right? For example, almost, pretty much, not exactly, they are the small difference words. Not quite and not nearly, they are the big difference words. And we can use with the equal comparative like as and the same, okay? For example, I think Paris is almost as beautiful as London. Or Paris is not quite the same as London, right? So you're going to use these words right before the comparative to give this extra detail about your comparative, right? About your comparison. And we have the words slightly, a bit, not much, small difference, and much, far, way, significantly, and a lot as big different words, big difference words. And you can use them together with than, more or less than, and different, right? For example, I think Japan, it's slightly better than China, right? I think pizza is way more delicious than hamburger. Or like I think Brazil, it's a lot different from United States, for example. Okay, so you can use these words to give this extra detail. All right. And to practice, I want you guys to write there on your paper, right? Some comparisons using these words, right? These comparatives that I have put here for you are already together. So they already have the word that indicates a small, big difference, plus the adjective you must use, okay? So right there, comparative using slightly better, not quite the same, way worse, far bigger, almost as good as, pretty much the same, a bit different, a lot more expensive, much hotter, and not exactly the same. Okay, so use these combinations to write and practice a little bit. Okay, so guys, that's it. That's the review from the midterm test, right? I hope you guys watch it, everything, paid attention, take your notes. If you still have some questions, ask your teachers about something, right? Remember, check the vocabulary, check the expressions that you guys have studied, because this is very important, right? Here we just go over the grammar, but vocabulary, expressions, and everything, they are also important. So don't forget to check it out, okay? And come together, right? Come together and have a good luck. I wish you guys the best luck on your test. Study a lot, right? And see you guys, right? So thank you so much for watching, and that's it. Thank you. Bye bye.